Are you suggesting that there is a satisfaction which we do not, sourced from that which we do not recognize?
Or is there something else enjoyable other than satisfaction?
Enjoyment as the responsible relationship to pleasure.
Which is not enjoyment in pleasure, or enjoyment in the pursuit of pleasure, but enjoyment.
Yes.
Not only a perception of the limitation, but in that perception, I hesitate to use the word because it's been rather spoiled, but it's a good word. There's a transcendence of that limitation. Observing the world and also oneself, it seems that pleasure has become extraordinarily important. Whether it is the pleasure of drink or food or sex, intellectual pleasures, pleasure of having great knowledge.
I was going to suggest you could probably stop it there. Food and drink. I feel like that covers all the rest that you've mentioned.
I see. Well, that's slightly esoteric.
Well, I hope it's picked up.
And observing the world and also oneself, it seems that one is engaged in a almost endless pursuit of these various pleasures. So we should go into this question of what is pleasure, and also why has pleasure become so extraordinarily important? Because the pursuit of pleasures might be one of the factors in our denial of responsibility.
I see. I'm not responding because instead I'm pursuing pleasure. I see. And in order to see if this is what is going on, I need to understand my pursuit of pleasure. And to see that, I need to understand what pleasure is. Well, at the outset, it seems I must be very careful. Because in the pursuit of this question, I might be pursuing pleasure. Why do I want to understand the structure of pleasure, as it were? Do I think that if I'm able to attain some kind of satisfactory understanding or explanation of the structure of pleasure and my involvement with it, I'll be able to exercise my responsibility more effectively? Perhaps there's like an intellectual pleasure. I see. But the way we've addressed this is by stating that in the world, it seems that the pursuit of pleasure and pleasure itself seems rather very important. Okay.
One of the driving factors, both in terms of how we live our lives and put together society.
Right. And I need to be cautious not to categorize it as like a peripheral concern for myself or a central concern for myself, but just consider the structure of pleasure as is.
Pleasure is, at least potentially, something I enjoy. Something that I judge favorably.
I see.
Colloquially speaking, pleasure is something which feels good. We think that there's goodness in pleasure.
I see. I see. Would you also say that we think of pleasure as the opposite of pain? And in thinking of there being goodness in pleasure, think of there being bad in pain?
Mm-hmm. And so pursuing pleasure and being averse to pain.
I see.
So in pleasure, we find a certain form of satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
And it is perhaps in recognition of this satisfaction that pleasure has become so extraordinarily important.
I see. Are you saying that satisfaction has a certain significance? And we attribute that significance to pleasure?
At the very least, satisfaction has a significance to us.
Mm-hmm.
Because our lives are so dissatisfying. Struggle, disappointment, restlessness, agitation, boredom.
I see. Is dissatisfaction different from not being fulfilling? It has a different sense. I could imagine one saying, my life is fulfilling, but still I find boredom. I see. Perhaps if that boredom is considered as something other than their life.
I see. I am fulfilled, and yet I am bored.
Yes.
I see. Overall, I judge things positively.
Yeah. So perhaps not quite boredom, and so perhaps not quite fulfilling. Only colloquially so. Typically, when people say my life is fulfilling, they mean something like, I acknowledge meaning in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to have some kind of significance.
Mm-hmm.
What that is, I'm not really sure. I care, at least partially. But perhaps this isn't what we really mean by fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Not living with a deep, abiding sense of emptiness.
Oh, I see. I feel like that could be both sides of the coin. Could you say more? If I do live with a deep, abiding sense of emptiness, would that be the fulfilling side or the non-fulfilling side?
Unfulfilled.
I see.
Emptiness in the sense of lack.
I see. Not full.
Uh-huh.
I see. So not fulfilled. I see.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So dissatisfied in these ways, not fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And being dissatisfied, recognizing satisfaction in pleasure, we pursue pleasure. Because we want to be satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always making effort to cultivate, pursue, seek out various pleasures.
I see. Like of those that might be found in understanding, or some understanding isn't the right word. Whatever this is.
To be stimulated,
Mm-hmm.
entertained.
Yes.
In that there's pleasure. Not that the speakers are putting on a form of entertainment.
Oh, I see. No.
But one may find entertainment in this.
Yes, yes. One might find certain satisfaction in this.
Mm-hmm.
In dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Whether those pleasures be old, familiar, comfortable, relaxing, or whether there's a demand for a modified form of pleasure, greater pleasures, more intense pleasures, all the excitement involved in that. In one form or other, there's always this pursuit of pleasure.
Mm.
In the pursuit of pleasure, there's fear. Fear that I will not obtain the object of my pleasure. Or fear that in obtaining the object of my pleasure, it will no longer satisfy me.
I see, therefore modifying the object.
Or my relationship to the object.
Sure.
Don't drink wine every day, but every few days.
I see.
When my pleasure is denied, I grow angry, bitter, violent. Whole battle goes on within myself.
I see, this might motivate my pursuit of pleasure.
Pleasure in what?
If I've had an experience of having my pleasures denied, and it has a certain affect, I might run from it.
Mm.
And in this running, pursue pleasure.
Secure my pleasures, moderate my pleasures.
Yes. I see. I see. So that in the pursuit of pleasure, that there is fear. Mm-hmm.
Desire only what can be readily obtained.
Desire only what can be readily obtained. I see.
Accept only the easy desires.
Oh dear. Accept only the easy pains. I see. Tolerating the minimal threshold?
Of what?
Pain.
As opposed to what?
Pursuing more pleasures, different pleasures, outside of my ready availability.
I see. Accepting the pain in the present circumstance.
Yeah.
So if one sees the danger in pursuing pleasure, which is fairly simple, one must ask, why has pleasure become so extraordinarily important,
Yes.
despite the dangers in its pursuit?
If one sees the dangers, one must question if it's necessary at all.
Yes. Why do I pursue pleasure at all?
Yeah.
Pleasure is not a problem. Natural, ordinary, biological phenomena.
It has potential to be dangerous, but I mean, if we're going to say this is a problem, then everything's wrong. We only have problems.
Only in pursuing pleasure it becomes a problem. Only in pursuing pleasure it causes chaos. In pursuing pleasure, the mind becomes distorted, confused, narrow.
Yes. I wonder if it even knows what it wants. Or like in the pursuit of pleasure, there's like the constant achieving, modifying, rearranging that object of pleasure, such that perhaps that's why the pursuit seems endless, because in a sense it is endless, because there's the constant modification of the object.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Pursuit of satisfaction is dissatisfactory. And so there's never a moment where you're satisfied per se. Or even if that moment arises, it becomes instantly dissatisfactory.
Yes. Quickly falls away again. So if one is at all perceptive, at all intelligent, they can't find satisfaction in that. Because you know it will end.
I see. But you still may find pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But not satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. So why do we pursue pleasure?
Why do I cultivate?
Why hold on?
Like, why are we insecure?
Why is there a demand to secure pleasure?
Yes. Hence the seeking. Hence the pursuing. I see. Why do we make demands?
For pleasure.
I see, specifically. Well, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's go all the way down. Come on, Alice.
Well, if we go all the way down,
No.
at least take this as an entry point.
Yes. Yes. Why make jokes? Why have fun?
Do we pursue pleasure because pleasure is the only form of satisfaction that we recognize?
If you craft questions like that, I can only say yes. Let's get into it. Are you suggesting that there is a satisfaction which we do not sourced from that which we do not recognize?
This becomes the next question.
Or does it stop looking like satisfaction?
Is there a source of satisfaction that is not recognized?
Yes. And then yeah.
Or is there something else enjoyable other than satisfaction?
Yes, well put.
Could be either way.
Is there joy beyond satisfaction?
So you've put forward this word joy.
Sure.
So we must ask, is joy the same thing as pleasure?
Potentially we could ask, what is satisfaction?
You're suggesting a different direction. Go ahead.
I was just putting it out there. I see. What would you like to ask? Well, in connection to recognition, if one is so inclined to establish a relationship between satisfaction and recognition, it seems like there is the experience of satisfaction. And one recognizes the set of circumstances that brought about this experience. And then potentially tries to cultivate this set of circumstances again in a similar way. Perhaps in a different particular context, but all around in a similar way. And in doing so, you might run into a new satisfaction, or a satisfaction which is recognized in line with the previous experience of satisfaction, but nonetheless seems like an image of my experience that I've constructed in thought, in time, in a certain given space. And various other things that the observer might want to note about that certain experience. But in its connection to recognition, perhaps one can see that satisfaction itself isn't the same thing as the attempts to recreate it or reproduce it. I don't know if I want to use the word recreate. Such that there might be a satisfaction beyond recognition, depending on how we want to use the words, I guess. Perhaps we could put this question to the side for a moment and then The other question was, is joy the same thing as pleasure?
The image of that experience is what is cultivated.
Yes, yes.
But the original experience of pleasure may not be an image.
Yes, yes.
But although that experience, not an image, that experience is still recognized by knowledge. I point at it. I say it's there. The pleasure is there.
Yes, yes. Such that it's truly pleasurable.
And being able to recognize it in this way, localized, discrete, I can pursue it.
Yes.
Cultivate it.
Yes. I can form that reality, as it were.
Bring about the necessary conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Does the same relationship stand to joy?
Perhaps I could cultivate joyful experiences, images of joyful experiences. Like I could cultivate images of beautiful experiences. But perhaps joy or beauty, don't know if I could cultivate. I could certainly try. But I don't know, I sat there for a while trying and I was silent for some time. I don't know if it has an end. I could try longer if that's. I hope you're doing it for yourself. See if it ends anywhere. Oh, I've said a terrible thing, actually.
In cultivating joy, one turns joy, so-called, into pleasure.
Yes.
The cultivation of pleasure, the pursuit of pleasure, is the movement of thought. Which is time, psychologically speaking.
I see. Psychologically speaking.
But joy is not put together by that movement of time thought. Joy cannot be cultivated. Joy cannot be recognized. Recognition happens only after the fact.
Well, yes.
Pleasure, you may recognize it when it's there. That very recognition of pleasure gives continuity to the same pleasure.
I see. Are you suggesting that the recognition of the pleasure is identification of the pleasure?
I say I recognize it, I know it.
I see. Such that its continuity establishes its identity. Oh, dear Lord. In its continuity, it establishes its identity. Which is why it has a different identity from joy.
Establishes its identity over time.
Mm-hmm.
But pleasure has its own nature, which can be recognized.
I see. Outside of its continuity?
But if there's no continuity to that pleasure, the recognition also happens after the fact. One says it was pleasure. It was over here, not over there.
I see. In doing so, haven't we established some kind of continuity?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Because if that's the case, I was wondering how it might be different from joy. But it seems like what you've just described, it was here and not over here. And there's already a continuity being established. It's just with the identification, the continuity was identified to have ended there, or here, or then and there.
A continuity in memory.
Why don't you say a little bit more? What do you mean? If I said there was that pleasure here and then, in memory, there's still continuity. Continuity has to be there for me to be able to say that.
Mm-hmm. But thought might not be giving that pleasure continuity through its cultivation. Because I say it was there, and I let go of it.
I see.
That was a pleasureful experience. And it's finished.
Not that, I see. Continuity as in, like, it's continued intimate relationship to thought and its movements.
There is no longer a significance attributed to that pleasure in thought.
This holding on.
Mm-hmm.
I see. In the more wide sense I was speaking of before, I think joy might not have this kind of continuity. It might be quite fun to actually explore this in joy's intimate relationship with beauty. You don't find joy here or there, or it was then and there. It might be there every time you look.
And when one says joy is there, it's not in a particular location. It's not localized. It's not discrete. It's not exclusive.
Yes. I think discrete is a good word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see. If you want to say joy is there, perhaps like in the same token, you would want to say that joy is here.
There's joy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And that joy not being put together by thought time cannot be recognized in itself.
I see. Could you have joyful recognition? I see, but you wouldn't be able to have joyful recognition of joy. Perhaps a joyful recognition of pleasure.
If one remains with the memory of joy without cultivating it, the very memory returns one to the original joy. Because in that, the movement of thought has come to an end. Not that one encounters joy in this or that, but joy.
Well, I see.
There is that experience that is afterwards called joy.
What do you mean by remaining with the memory of joy? This is a better question.
There is that experience that is afterwards called joy. Joy in the face of a immense mountain, a majestic bird on flight, in view of the sun reflecting on a slowly moving river.
In the presence of a good friend.
In the presence of a good friend. There is that experience that is afterwards called joy.
It's a hefty qualifier.
After the experience, there is a registration of that experience in memory.
I see. Yes.
Response to that memory, generally, ordinarily,
probably forms during the experience.
Habitually.
Like the impression is made during the experience.
Mm-hmm. Quite.
Yes. But it's not recognized.
Mm-hmm.
It's there to be recognized if that's what the brain is going to do. But see, that the data point is made.
The information is there.
Yeah. And if one
habitually,
okay,
in response to that memory, thought demands a repetition of the original experience. Not only the outward circumstances, but also the inward quality of the mind. And so cultivating the original experience turns it into pleasure. If one is aware of that movement, if thought is aware of itself, in response to that memory, thought no longer cultivates pleasure, but rather
stays with the memory?
Remaining with the memory, not moving away from it.
That's curious, yeah. And to parse out recognition, memory, remembering. I see, like, what is it that's being recalled?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Being unsatisfied with the memory,
mm-hmm.
not moving away from that, joy.
I see. Might it be the case that what we've just described is finding the experience to be truly pleasurable? Oh dear. It's a big thought. Well, if I could speculate for a moment. Oh, yes.
Seeing all this, one asks the question, why does thought get involved at all?
Sure.
Why does thought demand repetition? If one is completely attentive at the time of the original experience, thought doesn't interfere.
Then you just have joy.
And then, are you saying, after the fact of that experience, one finds it truly pleasurable, in recollection? Because as recollection, as memory, it's partial, localized, discrete.
In the brain, as it were.
But what that is a memory of is not of that quality.
Yes.
So you say truly pleasurable experience.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Fascinating.
So pleasure is not the only form of enjoyment.
Barely had to vocalize the thought. What did you say?
Pleasure is not the only form of enjoyment.
You could have truly excellent pleasure. I see. Pleasure as it exists in thought. That's curious too. That's not quite right. Pleasure is not the only source of enjoyment, is this what you said?
Mm-hmm.
I see. Well, I guess what I was trying to say was, in fact, pleasure might not be a source of enjoyment at all.
If in pleasure, one is no longer seeking pleasure, there's enjoyment.
I see. There's just the fact of the pleasure.
Enjoyment also is not exclusive.
Could you say a little bit more?
Enjoyment is not concerned with a particular corner of one's experience.
I see. Would you say that enjoyment is total? But in pleasure, if there isn't a seeking of pleasure, then there is enjoyment, and that enjoyment is total. Though you could also have partial enjoyment. But perhaps this partial enjoyment might come with seeking pleasure.
As a quality of experience, enjoyment is limited.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to call it total.
I see.
If in the seeking of pleasure there is enjoyment, enjoyment is not found in the pleasure, but in the seeking. Rather tense.
I see.
But pleasure may not be enjoyable.
It's a rather peculiar thing you just said. I see. Maybe it's a bit closer to pain. Unenjoyed pleasure. It's rather painful. Energy, tension, movement, just not enjoyable.
The pursuit of pleasure, with its tension, brings pain. If one secures great pleasure and obtains mediocre pleasure, in that there may be no enjoyment. So although there is a relationship between pleasure and enjoyment, pleasure as such has no relationship to joy.
So what is enjoyment's relationship to joy? What does it mean to be enjoyed?
Not to put together that relationship in thought through description, but in attention, joy, enjoyment, pleasure in the right place.
I see. Well, also, if not partially, because thought can't have no relationship to joy. It needs a place.
In joy, there may be pleasure, but pleasure as such has no relationship to joy.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if there is a relationship between thought and joy, thought turns joy, so-called, into pleasure.
Mm-hmm. So what is one to do with pleasure? Or the pursuit of pleasure? Or the transformation of joy to pleasure? What is a responsible relationship to pleasure?
Just to be aware of this whole movement.
Mm-hmm.
Either one is aware of the movement of pleasure as an observer, in which case division, fragmentation, conflict, or observing the movement of pleasure without an observer, because the observer is also part of the movement of thought. From that awareness, attention, and so ending that movement.
Easy. Enjoyment. As the responsible relationship to pleasure.
Which is not enjoyment in pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
or enjoyment in the pursuit of pleasure, but enjoyment.
Yes.
Enjoyment in which there may be great delight.
Yes, yes. If you will, the enjoyment of life or something. Such that one sees the so-called illusion of the pursuit of pleasure and the so-called illusion of pleasure, and beyond that, to see joy. And so enjoyment.
Mm-hmm. in seeing what is, not only to see the psychological reality put together by thought, but also what's beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Not seeking what's beyond, not trying
yes.
go beyond what is in front of oneself.
Because then that becomes a seeking.
Which is part of the movement of pleasure.
Right. Do we have words for pleasure beyond pleasure? Seeking of pleasure beyond pleasure. Maybe seeking total satisfaction.
If I make effort to end pleasure because pleasure causes pain, religious people have told me pleasure is dangerous.
I see. Deny it.
If I make effort to end pleasure, even if there's no enjoyment in that effort, that effort is still the pursuit of pleasure because I think pleasure at the end.
Yes. Once I've gotten rid of all of my pleasures, I will be satisfied.
Life will be easy, happy, swell.
I will have become a good person. I see. Is becoming bad? Perhaps it's at least not good.
Also in this connection, we should take up the question of ecstasy.
I see. Perhaps ecstasy can be pleasure beyond pleasure. But not in the first sense I was thinking about, like in sense of time. One pleasure after another.
I don't know what you're saying.
What is ecstasy?
Observing without the observer, consciousness remains conscious of itself. So consciousness's awareness of itself is not merely in thought. Is not essentially the product of a process of reflection. But rather, consciousness, human consciousness, is aware of itself by its very nature. In that awareness of itself, we've said, consciousness has knowledge of itself. Knowledge of its own existence, life, being. And having knowledge of itself, consciousness is always conditioned by knowledge. This self-awareness is the product of a self-reflexive mechanism through which the mind becomes aware of itself. This mind's awareness of itself we call consciousness. Because with this mechanism, consciousness has an experience of itself.
Self-consciousness, yes.
Ecstasy is the suspension of this reflexive mechanism. Ecstasy is important. In ecstasy, the brain is learning to operate without consciousness.
It's getting a taste of the world beyond.
Consciousness is limited by knowledge, experience, time. In limitation, there's dissatisfaction. So ecstasy is important in part of the movement of ending consciousness.
I see. It's like the only space in which the brain can learn about that space beyond consciousness.
That ecstasy can never be willed, never be wanted.
Well, consciousness would only be able to will or want things within its field of knowledge. And so that which is essentially unknowable to consciousness can't be wanted or willed.
But in that ecstasy, there can be a contemplation of what is beyond consciousness. So in this way,
contemplation might be the right word for it. It's quite a complex one, contemplation. But but by definition, this contemplation would have to be not based on the self-reflexive mechanism of consciousness. Okay.
Contemplation means somehow to consider that which I don't know. So if one is very serious about this contemplation, ecstasy can be brought about in this way.
I see, but a moment ago, didn't one just say that consciousness can't bring about its own suspension of the reflexive mechanism?
It's not a product of will or wanting.
I see. But consciousness is able to contemplate.
It's not. Consciousness is contemplation.
I see. There may be that activity of contemplation. I see. Which brings the self-reflexive mechanism of consciousness to a suspension.
In that contemplation, there can be a consideration of, investigation into, at least in a preliminary sense, being, life, existence,
Yes.
beyond all knowledge and experience.
What might one say to a question such as, if not consciousness, what is doing the activity of the contemplation?
Actually, no one is doing that contemplation. Only in consciousness there is an experience of oneself. But in that contemplation, there is an intelligence which is operating. We've said, in limitation, there is dissatisfaction. If one remains with that dissatisfaction, not escaping from it, running away from it, covering it up, breaking it into bits, not seeking satisfaction within that dissatisfaction, within which there's failure, disappointment, restlessness, boredom, but rather remaining with that dissatisfaction, the very energy of that dissatisfaction provides you what's necessary to go beyond it.
I see. One might say, oh, I see. Yeah, one might say, there's a perception of the limitation.
Not only a perception of the limitation, but in that perception, I hesitate to use the word because it's been rather spoiled, but it's a good word. There's a transcendence of that limitation.
I see. Transcendence of that limitation. But what I mean to say by perception of, I see, I said that limitation. Perception of limitation. Limitation doesn't transcend itself somehow.
No, not that you transcend, but that there is a transcendence of that field of dissatisfaction.
Yes, yes. But regarding the fact of limitation, there's no movement. Like, limitation is there.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't suddenly come to an end.
Yes, yes.
Experience remains limited. Knowledge remains limited.
Well, there's perception into the fact of limitation. Mm-hmm. But if one has perception of a limitation, there may be a transcendence of that limitation.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And what's necessary to transcend limitation itself? Well, let's get on it.
In thought becoming aware of itself, there is a transcendence within itself.
Mm-hmm.
But thought remains thought.
Yes.
And so limited.
Yes. And there's perception of this fact.
Mm-hmm.
I see. What did you say earlier? It doesn't magically come to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Quite
it doesn't
right.
suddenly come to an end.
I see. In fact, with the perception of peace, no more conflict. Oh, that might be the case, actually. But, with perception of a peace.
This one I'm even more hesitant with, because satisfaction is one of the objects of our longing, but in the transcendence of dissatisfaction, there is satisfaction.
I see. May one be truly dissatisfied?
Also, put it this way. Good way of putting it.
In an earlier episode, we spoke about, I don't remember which episode, honestly. But in the earlier episode, we spoke about sitting with that dissatisfaction and it's just building. Perhaps this building was the non-dispersing of energy, such that there is satisfaction in the transcendence of dissatisfaction. So that one is truly I don't know, I'm just putting it in many different ways, I feel.
In the transcendence of dissatisfaction, the field of dissatisfaction is made distinct.
I see.
And so satisfaction is made distinct.
Mm-hmm.
That satisfaction is not ignorance. It's not callousness.
It's not conceit or conceding.
Mm-hmm. It's not yours or mine.
This distinction? Or this
satisfaction?
Yes, yes.
It's not satisfaction in something or other.
Oh dear.
But that satisfaction has an effect on the field of satisfaction. Or dissatisfaction. Thought wants to make it into something permanent.
Dissatisfaction?
Something reliable. So one has to be very careful when going into all of this.
I see. We must remain truly dissatisfied.
That's why I say a good way of putting it.
It's rather cheeky.
Yes. Without being truly dissatisfied, there's no satisfaction. Truly is a qualifier attributed by thought that thought can think about. So going into all of this, one must be very clear on the fact that the description is not the described.
Mm-mm-mm.
The description is never the described. Otherwise, one gets caught up in words.
I see.